G'day guys and welcome to the Centre Bounds for this second video where we will talk about the mid-price and midfielders who we think will break out. Stay tuned. All the points are in the midfield, Big J.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity across each line. I know a few of us have stacked the forward line, got a few more primos in the back line. The midfield is where, as you say, a lot of the money comes from. And if you can pick the right ones, not the wrong ones, you're having a pretty good time because generally we've been blessed with a few of these guys around the 400 to 500k mark, the ones we're looking at today, that end up being keepers or close enough that you can run them at M8 for the whole year and be pretty happy, Joe.
Absolutely. We're going to go through 10 options for you in the midfield, and we will be starting off with the Hawk superstar, Will Day. Take us away, Big J. Oh my God, I can't stop rhyming. Stop me.
Will Day, what can you say? Mate, I just think I had Will Day last year, and some points in the year, he was fantastic. But then some points throughout the year, he kind of burnt me. Injury really hurt Will Day last year. And I think just that inconsistency led to a lot of his type of scoring. We know he gets bulk CBAs by some of the numbers there. Heck, 70s, 60s, 80s in his CBAs. But it's just his ball use as well that make him a really good superstar and give Hawthorn something that maybe they don't have. They've got guys like Newcomb in that midfield who are your midfield bull. And you think of Will Day as the guy they hand the ball to. Maybe McRae of old, maybe a few of Lockie Neal before his prime around that kind of position. So if he's to come back, fantastic. There were some times last year as well where he ended up quite pricey in SuperCoach. And in previous years, he's had, scores of 90 averages and then 97 in 2023. So when he plays a full season, he's fantastic. You just hope that he actually can play a full season. I mean, last year, scores of 142, scores of 137, 136 as well. So we know this guy can do well. If Hawthorn are the team that a lot of people are predicting to break into the top 8 and actually stay there, potentially top 4 next year, Will Day is the engine room that's going to drive that, which means he's going to see a lot of ball, and it means that he's going to get a lot of SuperCoach points for us.
Yeah, it seems that he really needs to have that midfield time. Unfortunately, he's a little bit unlucky when it comes to injury, and they seem to be really freak injuries as well, like collision-based or getting caught under tackles and things like that. So
he's just really skinny.
Yeah, he's very skinny, and I can understand why you feel hard done by because he really was a great selection, and a lot of people hopefully thinking that with a full preseason, that 490 price tag might be a little bit generous and we can see him maybe average around 110 potentially this year. So that's the hope for those who start him. They're hoping for a 110-point keeper, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at that price, that's what you want, right? You don't want to come in, especially skate some of these other options that we've got here and you pick out the wrong one. Definitely someone to watch. And Hawthorn, just in general, a team to watch over the preseason to see kind of where players end up.
Yeah, 100%. So he was a little bit hard done by with injury. This guy has been hard done by with injury for a lot of his career, unfortunately. He has a lot going for him and one of our most important players in the engine room at the Essendon Bombers. That is, of course, DP3, Darcy Parish. I was really bullish about him last year. I actually had him in my starting team. Hoping that he would have the season that I thought he would. He was in ripping hot nick, but unfortunately, just before the season started, he got yet another cursed soft tissue injury. So he is now very valued at 481k. He has shown in the past that he is capable of going over 100 and averaging around 110 over 3 years. He had 110 average. If you get that for 481k, that is absolutely a bargain and someone that you can have as a keeper at less than 500k. That is an absolutely successful selection. The only question is, will you get it for the course of a whole season? Unfortunately, history will tell you that you are more than likely not going to. His last 3 seasons, he's only managed to play a maximum of 18 games. He's only managed to play every game once in his career, and that was back in 2021 when he first broke out as a viable Supercoach primo. So the odds are
And
not in your favor.
was that during COVID as well? Like 2021? I'm feeling like it was what was it?
Yeah.
I can't even remember where they changed the scoring. So, there was inflated scores and whatnot as well. Bloody Darcy Parish, mate. I tell you what, you really want, you maybe not 2021 Parish. If you got 2023 Parish for that price, you'd be doing okay.
Yeah.
Because at least you can make a bit of money. He'll end up at 600K at some point, and then you can flick him off to a better player. The only problem with Parish is, I believe, Joe, Essendon have an early buy. So it's a decent amount of points that you're actually losing, alongside an Ashcroft and a few others that we'll talk about later. It's a lot of points that you're losing. We should have brought it up with Will Day, but it's a similar position where these are guys that you want to score you points on field. Yet they're going to miss one of the first 5 games. So makes things a bit rough.
Yeah, it does. It does. But at the same time, you're not paying top dollar for him. And
Nope.
when it comes to these injury-prone players, once again, you want to start them rather than trade them in. If he has a very good round 1 or round 2, you don't really want to trade him in at that point, because that ship would have sailed. Because if he does get injured, you would burn a trade trading him in, and then if he gets injured, you're burning a trade to trade him back out again. So if you are going to pick him, keep a close eye. He's got the Gold Coast Suns at People First Stadium. If he plays really well and scores really well against a strong midfield away from home, then we might be on to a winner at 481K. Keep a close eye on DP3.
Yeah, definitely. Another player who doesn't have an early buy, a guy who went from, in his first year of AFL, he only played 8 games, but was 65 average, then jumped up to 85 last year. Mate, it's George Wardlaw, the Warlord. I love George Wardlaw. I think he's fantastic. I'm a little bit North Melbourne biased. In Supercoach, maybe not so much, but it's hard to break that natural progression. If it stays the same, it means George Wardlaw, 100 plus average, no problem. Something to look out for as well is he has been training a bit with Luke Parker, who's kind of taken him under his wing a little bit. It has been prophesized a lot by North Melbourne fans and the media. I think George Wardlaw's first game was against Sydney, and he took Parker down and did some crazy stuff. So they're like, oh, now he's in your team and not in the other team. So there is some potential there, but there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen at North Melbourne. If we do, though, see a few more of these 120 plus games that we saw with George Wardlaw as a 19-year-old, Joe, like 19, and he's putting out these scores, get some more consistency like that, he could be Oliver 2.0 again. So one to watch over the preseason. The best thing about George Wardlaw is that he can't play anywhere else. He can't rest forward as much. He has kicked a couple of goals, but they've been more on the run, things like that. He might rest a tiny bit in the midfield, in the forward line, but he's predominantly that bull midfielder. Perfect. One issue that he does have a little bit is he missed a few games last year, I think due to concussion, or maybe due to like a sore ankle, things like that. So just hope his fitness is up. But watching him in the preseason, mate, he's been busting his guts getting his fitness up as well. So even those low time on ground scores, you'd be hoping for a lot more. I mean, heck, Joe, this guy scored a 123 off 68% time on ground. Come on, man.
Come on, man. Nah, we love
Come
the
on,
Warlord.
man.
We love the Warlord. We know he's great. Yeah, as you say, there are a few chefs in the kitchen. There is still scope, though, for improvement when it comes to his centre bounce attendances. A lot of these ones are, between 48 and 74%, 76% back down to 65. So they're down to 48%. So there is scope for improvement, as well as increasing his time on ground. He is still young, and he is more of a burst type player as opposed to an endurance running. So it does take some time for him to really build that fitness under his legs and get used to the speed of the game for a prolonged period of time. He's one that I think we will certainly be having in our Supercoach sides moving forward. The question is, do you get him this year, or do we think that this may be the year before he becomes a lock in our Supercoach teams? I think this is the year before, but only time will tell. Let's have a look and see what Luke Parker has on him in the preseason. Mate, this guy, does he really need any introduction? I
The
mean,
pig, Joe, the pig, Clayton Oliver. I mean, last year, if people had said, cool, get Clayton Oliver at 600K, people would have been stunned. If we had said at the start of last year, next year, you'll be able to get Clayton Oliver at 450K, they'd be saying, jump off a bridge, Joe. This guy is a freak. The biggest thing is real fitness. And we know that everyone saw a lot of stuff last year of,
yep.
he might not be fit. He's got his off-field problems, blah, 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 blah. Is Clayton Oliver in your team at the moment? Is someone to watch?
Yes, absolutely. You don't just turn down a guy who has had 1, 2, 3, 4 years in a row of 120 plus average scores, and in 2022 he almost averaged 130 for the year.
And no
This
early
guy,
buy as well.
no early buy, the ridiculous value. He's the pig for a reason. He finds the pill. He's in and under. If we have a rainy year as well, he's probably one of the best wet weather footballers I've ever seen in my life. There is so much scope for improvement for this guy. He came back early in the preseason with the first to fourth year players, which is a really good sign that he's committed to getting his health back up and running again. His good mate Petrarca is also up and running again. They can push each other to new heights. So Clary is one I've certainly got in my team, and I'm looking forward to still making sure though that he is keeping up with his preseason and not hearing anything negative. Because it's very easy for negativity to snowball. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully he continues on the straight and narrow and he gives us some ridiculously good scoring and ridiculously good value.
Yeah, I guess similar to Wardlaw and opposite to Petrarca, Oliver can really only play midfield. So that's where he's going to be. Petrarca can rest forward. But mentioned it in the Wardlaw video that if these guys want to improve, if Melbourne want to get better and playing finals again, they need Oliver to play where he needs to play. Just Clary, get that body fixed, please. Easiest lock for the entire season.
Correct. Absolutely. Someone that's not quite as easy of a lock, but someone that a lot of people are considering for their sides is Adam Cerra. Again, at this really juicy price, 447,000. Someone who has shown that they are capable of averaging over 105 points, which if that is what you get above what he previously gave you the year before, that is a 24-point bump up. And that is certainly very worthwhile of a selection. Playing a bit of midfield and wing over there at Carlton. It's a very stacked midfield. He has gone over to Qatar over this off-season. We saw it really work out for the likes of Elliot Yeo, who has had a lot of historical injury concerns. And you can sort of see that Adam Cerra is no stranger to injuries either. 13, 22, 18. Really hasn't played a full season before either himself. So him going over to Qatar, maybe getting some magic treatment the same way that Yeo did, could be what the doctor ordered literally and figuratively.
Yeah, I mean, if Carlton want to improve, he's sharing the position with a few different players. So it's one to watch over the preseason. But if Carlton want to improve, they need to bring him in. And he needs to play as much time as he can. And unfortunately for Cerra, it does feel like he needs to justify the draft pick they spent on him. I think from memory, Carlton spent, pick 6 or something on Adam Cerra, thinking, hello, it was a fantastic deal. But ever since he's been in the team outside of last year, it's not been fantastic. So one to watch. Sorry, not last year, 2023, but one to watch. He's definitely got the potential, Joe. Where does he fit?
That's the question. It almost seems like he's going to be more of an outside type player. For me, it seems that he does his best with lesser CBAs than with more CBAs. He's got that flexibility to play on the outside. They've also got others that can play on the inside, like obviously Paddy Cripps is big. George Hewitt is also big and can fit in there. So, look, I personally don't see a reason why Cerra is going to be a stable selection to go over 100, could to go 110. I personally have more confidence in a Will Day type, and especially Clayton Oliver, who's right next to him, barely $4,000 difference.
There you go. But a lot of people have brought him into their teams and kind of talking about him. So that's kind of we put him in the video today. Someone to watch. We're never against potential. And, mate, Cerra's got it. Maybe you pick both, Oliver and Cerra, if they're both firing.
Yeah, Cerra doesn't have. I don't think Cerra has an early buy either, which
No.
might be the reason why people are selecting him potentially over an Ashcroft type. But we'll talk about Ashcroft in a second. We're going to start talking about Liam Baker, who has made his way across to the West Coast Eagles, having departed from the Richmond Tigers. This was a move that a lot of people were waiting to see, and we were not surprised when it actually did happen.
No, definitely. And a lot of Richmond fans were rubbing their hands together, being like, give us those draft picks. Mate, he's someone at Richmond similar to a Jaden Short that we spoke about in our Defenders video, who maybe has not lived up to his potential as much, just being in a stacked premiership team. But he's gone over to West Coast to be that type of player. There has been potential scorings for him throughout the years. There are a few hundreds and whatnot in there. So it is someone to watch out for in a new team, in a new position. Witherden's gone. Do they play him off half back? Do they play him half forward? He can kind of play anywhere. And that's the problem with him at Richmond was they played him anywhere. So if he gets half-back distributor role, fantastic. If he gets the Jaden Short role, fantastic. If he's a half-forward running through the middle, someone to watch out for.
Yeah, exactly. It's entirely role dependent with Liam Baker. He really is a jack of all trades, master of none, a real utility type player. He will provide great leadership, and he's a ripper player. I love the way Liam Baker goes about it. He is a heart and soul type of player as well. Puts his body on the line and has absolutely zero regard for his well-being. So him taking some of that great Richmond culture that saw them win, obviously all those flags across the West Coast Eagles, there's no doubt he will feature in their best 22. The only question is where, and that's the problem. So they've got a pretty good midfield, and his best scoring came when he was getting those CBAs. So I don't know whether or not he's going to get those CBAs. One to really keep a close eye on in the preseason, as well as in the practice games, and in the preseason games where he lines up. But even then, whatever you see, it could be transient, and he could end up playing somewhere else, wherever the team needs him.
Joe, did you say CBAs?
I did.
CBA, you mean CBA Ashcroft? Mate, yeah. Will Ashcroft is a gun. He's a premiership player. I don't even think he's 20 yet. He's going to feature in our SuperCoach teams for a very, very long time. The only reason why he's not going to be an auto select in SuperCoach for a very long time is because the AFL has decided that round 0 is a thing, which means that he always has an early buy, Joe. But coming off from injury, we know how well he dominated in the AFL games, especially heading into the grand final, where he scored a 115, also scored a 129. My only problem with Ashcroft at the moment is the early buy, which really sucks compared to an Oliver, compared to a Wardlaw, Parish, a few others on this list. But it's also where does he fit? His brother's now coming to the team who you think's automatically going to play. They've got Dunkley, they've got Neil, they've got Zorko, they've got quite a few other good players throughout that midfield. Does Ashcroft walk in and play the same role as he played in the preseason, so in the season last year? Potentially. But there's also a little bit of concern that, hey, maybe he's pushed out a little bit. Maybe they kind of rest him. Definitely one to watch in the preseason. Is he in your team, Joe? And do you feel the same way?
He's not in my team at the moment. The early buy is a big detriment for me. Also, I don't like loading up on mid prices in the midfield personally. I just feel like having the security and the stability that comes with the Uber premiums in the midfield just makes it is justifiable for the price point, as well as the vice captaincy and the captaincy that obviously goes along with them. But he will certainly be in all of our sides for many years. I think his role will actually improve this year. I don't know where exactly I heard this. It may have come from the great man DR himself, that he's heard from along the grapevines over there that he will be getting a lot more midfield time this year. He is certainly capable. He's got the class. He's got the composure. He's also got the strong, ready-made AFL body. He doesn't appear to be a hulking figure but he can stand up in tackles really well as dish out tackles himself. So really a massive believer in this guy. He is an incredible talent. Levi Ashcroft, I think, will be playing a bit more forward of centre. Lockie Neal, a bit older now. He's finally got that flag that he's always been chasing, and he had off-season surgery. So there may be possibility where even a McCluggage might be pushed out to a wing a bit more. So now that they've won a flag, some of those demands might have substantially been reduced. You know what I mean? Because everyone's happy and up and about. Let's give this kid some more midfield minutes because he's certainly capable of it. So Levi Ashcroft is not in my team at the moment, but I can see him making his way
Will
in a bit
Ashcroft.
later.
Will Ashcroft.
Will Ashcroft, sorry. I'll have both of them in time, but not right now.
I think after the bye round, after his first bye, we're going to see how good he's scoring, and he might be a first upgrade target for a lot of people. As you say, if he's getting a lot of mid-time, 120, maybe not 120. Preseason prediction, Will Ashcroft 1.5 to 110. I can see potentially happening. So
he'll go 110.
Definitely one to have a look out for.
He'll go 110, I think. Jace Burgoyne, he's in here because as similar to the Farrell discussion that we had in the previous video, one that could end up getting the bump from the Houston move. Loved watching this guy play last year. He is a supremely talented player, played 23 games, so he's got the durability, great ball use, 76, 84%, and 77 the year before that. And he improved his time on ground as well. A lot of his game I saw was on a wing. Because of how good he is overhead. He's also very good at ground level. And like I said, his kicking ability opened up the ground to enable a really good kick inside forward 50, lined up along on a wing. However, now that Houston is gone, that's now another great reliable kick that is gone away from the half back line. Could he be the one with his skill set to be an intercept marker as well as taking the game on from the back line? I think he certainly can. He's also got the tank for it to be able to push up the ground. I mean, he had 100% TOG in this game, 90, 98, 83. So he's a very fit player that can certainly play the role similar to Nick Martin for the Bombers, who has really high time on ground and who we moved to the half back line last year. I wouldn't be surprised if Jace Burgoyne ends up finding himself playing that role. And someone like a Sin, who we might talk about in a previous video, might find himself on a wing to replace Jace Burgoyne over there. So massive raps for this guy. And I personally was a massive fan of his playing.
Yeah, definitely. I think just natural progression as well. If we look at his kind of scoring over the last years, let me just pull it up. I think last year he averaged an 80. The year before, he averaged a 40. And then his debut year, I'm not sure what happened, but he did average 52. So there is potential there, like you say. As a cheaper option, maybe you can't afford an Ashcroft. Maybe you can't afford an Oliver or a Cerra. There's worse things you can do. You just need to be cemented that, hey, look, this guy's going to touch the ball. And it definitely is one to watch out for him. He can rack it up. And over the games, they did use him as that distributor of halfback. His scoring does say a lot of wing, but it's getting the ball from the half back line, running it up the middle, and then kicking it to the forward line. So these guys can score quite well. Just one to watch and see.
Yeah, exactly. So keep a close eye on the preseason for the reports that come out. He is starting off a halfback and really pushing up onto a wing there. So if that role continues, then could be an absolute sneaky selection.
100%. Matt Kennedy, Joe. Matt Kennedy. I did not think that I would be making a SuperCoach video this year thinking about Matt Kennedy. Are you in my team? Do I even need to care? Look, he's one to watch out for. The fact that he can basically only play mid and the Dogs need mids and he went over to the Dogs for more opportunity means that, hey, he might actually get that. Last year, we did not see a lot of CBAs, but it's around the 50 mark, 50 to 60%. If that jumps up at a Dogs team, and I think it could, Libba's on the way. I'm going to say Libba's on the way out, but Libba's kind of on the way out. They need some replacements for that type of player. Fitness is a big issue with him, and then also speed. But if you can do a little bit more in the preseason, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, look, he can play as a pretty decent half forward as well. So, but he left Carlton because he wanted more midfield opportunity. He says he wants midfield opportunity. He goes to the Dogs. Now, the Dogs have a pretty good midfield themselves, but if he's gone to the Dogs, does that mean that Bevo's told him, look, mate, we'll give you that midfield time? If that is the case, then that means someone is leaving, and it could very
Mm.
well be Libba, as you say, because I'm pretty sure Libba is one
Well,
head knock
McRae's
away.
just gone. McRae's
McRae's
gone.
gone.
And Bailey
Bailey
Smith's
Smith is
gone, but
gone.
he didn't really play much. Well, he didn't play at all last year, but there's still some people moving around.
It's true. It's true. He could get that CBA time. If he gets that CBA time, he's shown in the past that with an average of 58% CBAs, he averaged 96 for that season back in 2022. If he gives you 96 for 114K, hey, that's not the worst.
Yes.
But ideally, if you're going for a mid-pricer, you probably want closer to 100.
Yep.
You do want that 100. So 96.7, look, if he gives it to you, you take it. No early buy either. DPP.
Maybe not a SuperCoach selection in Classic, but could be like 4th, 5th round pick in draft, and you might be all right.
Agreed. And
now,
finish us off.
James Peatling, Joe. I'm on the fence, but there's a lot of people talking about Peatling this year. Give us the goss.
Yeah, I got him. I've got him in my team. He's been in my team. There's some pretty good reasoning why you should be pretty bullish about James Peatling coming across from the Giants to the Crows. We're not going to talk about coming today because he is sub 300K. So we're going to finish it off with Peatling, who is in that nice bracket there. You look at his history, no CBAs whatsoever. All of a sudden, last year he got a bit of a jump up to 42%. Mate, this is where he thrives. He thrives on the center bounces and improving his time on ground.
Say the
His
center
average
bounce.
has been absolutely killed. Look how many green vests this man has had. I am feeling outraged on his behalf. How can anyone be a sub that many times? Kingsley, I am a big supporter
Like James
of you.
Jordan.
But mate, this is unfair. You can't just have one guy be the designated sub every week. Let him play. Because look what happens when you let him play. 76 tog for 93, a 133, a 96, a 100. This one was a very bad game for some reason. I don't know what exactly happened here for a 40, but it continues with a 97, a 99, and then all of a sudden his CBA substantially were taken off him yet again in a final. But this guy needs time on ground and CBAs, and he is going to get both at Adelaide. He will. This guy, give him 60 plus percent CBAs, and he will average you 100 plus. And at 352K, that is an absolute steal. He doesn't have an early buy either. You're going to be getting full value for him. Watch that video of him mowing down Dawson. It was glorious to see. This guy is in ripping hot form. He's a mature age player. He's dying for opportunity. He didn't get it over there at the Giants. Adelaide clearly want to change things up. They want to improve. They've obviously now got Laird going to be playing a bit more halfback. Sloan's out of there. Berry, question mark over him. Peatling is not a question mark. This guy, I've locked him and I've thrown away the key for now.
I mean, Adelaide haven't paid him bonkers much. I think he's on 900K at Adelaide at the moment. Adelaide have not paid him that much money to go and relegate him to a non-performing position and to relegate him back to the VFL or the green vest. Like, maybe you're convincing me here a little bit, Joe. We'll talk about Isaac coming in another video and similar kind of situation. But, mate, James Peatling, he could feature in my team. Let us know down in the comments. Is he going to feature in yours?
Mate, if you want to win SuperCoach, get him in your team. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. If you want to win SuperCoach, just have Peatling in your team.
Guys, that is the breakout players, the guys that you need to watch out for, the ones that offer some value and a lot of cash gen potentially in the midfield this year. Let us know down in the comments. Did we miss anyone? What do you think about our takes? We're here to help.
If you have any questions about any other players that we've missed, let us know. We're going to be talking through all of the other lines as well as the rookie price options as well. So make sure that you hit the notification bell to not miss out on any of the videos and streams that we are pumping out this preseason.
Guys, because here at the Centre Bounce, we do the hard work so you don't have to. Bye for now.